Right. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being present here. मेरी आवाज I'm audible, right?
Yet, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, Naina and the
Norman, you
team
topped the Therin.
has set out the agenda for today, and yes, it's about the NFO, the new fund offer discussion, which is on the passive side, Tata Nifty Capital Markets Index Fund. तो हमने सोचा था कि लॉट ऑफ इन्वेस्टिंग रिलेटेड एंड जो सारा इकोसिस्टम है इन्वेस्टिंग एंड ट्रेडिंग के लिए, बट प्राइमरली इन्वेस्टिंग, which is when you're investing you are using broking accounts, then there is a depository where which is a custodian for what you buy. Then you have stock exchanges on which you trade. You have RTAs when you do mutual funds. You have, of course, asset management companies which are now listed, about 4 of them. तो ये सारा इकोसिस्टम है जो आपको इन्वेस्टिंग एंड ट्रेडिंग में ये पूरा इकोसिस्टम बन जाता है, और यहाँ पे हमको हर जगह टॉप लाइन ग्रोथ दिख रही थी. एंड वी सेड लास्ट 5 years में क्या हुआ है. आई पैरेलली आल्सो शेयर माय स्क्रीन. लास्ट 5 years व्हाट हैज हैपेंड. सबसे पहले तो आपका इन यूनिक पैन कार्ड्स बढ़ गए हैं, जंप हो गया है. देयर इज अ multi-fold increase in the number of unique PAN cards. Unique Demat accounts, number of Demat accounts in the last 5 years have grown 3 times. Mutual fund AUM has grown multiple, in the CAGR of about 19-20% in the last 5 years. Your SIP folios and overall folios, MF folios and SIP, the SIP amount has almost doubled in the last 5 years. So there is this proliferation of everything which is happening currently, and we said, how can we capture this? So we wanted, then we spoke to NSE and we asked them to co-create a capital markets index which can house all these entities. So that was the very broad idea. Capital markets index is actually a part of the overall financial services sector, and it is capital markets is one part. So now here you are, what you're seeing is, you have this concrete city which is there, and tier 1 city of one of the growing countries, and you have a horse which is riding to work instead of an automobile. So this looks odd. So similarly, we are saying that financialization of savings, and in this new age, of course the shift is happening, but largely one cannot imagine monies lying in physical, too much of money locked in physical real estate or physical gold or fixed deposits or post office investment instruments or whatever. It is actually moving to financial instruments, relevant financial instruments, as times have changed, and the investment avenues also need to change from traditional investments now more so to new age investments or financialization of those investments. बट कुछ मेगा ट्रेंड्स हैं जो स्ट्रक्चरल शिफ्ट्स हमको दिख रहे हैं, विच इज आपका जो म्यूचुअल फंड एयूएम है वो मार्च 2018 में कुछ 21 लाख करोड़, 21 odd lakh crores था, and when you look at March 24 it's close to 53-54 lakh crores. So you see this rise in humongous rise in AUM, mutual fund AUM that you see. Also the folio count which is there, which has again grown from some 7 crores to 17 crores in the last 5 to 6 years. And if you look at Demat accounts, also you see from 2 crores to 16 crores. That's from 2012. Even if you look at last 5 years, which is from 19, let's say 3 crores to 16 crores, it's a great jump. And in the last 5 years it has grown 3 times. So MF AUM is increasing, number of folios have increased humongously, Demat accounts have, and overall ओवरऑल ओवरआर्किंग थिंग ये हो रहा है कि जो आपके हाउस होल्ड सेविंग्स हैं विच वर प्राइमरीली इनटू गोल्ड सिल्वर ऑर्नामेंट्स या आपका जो करेंसी एंड डिपॉजिट्स में बहुत पैसा था 2011-12 में, अबाउट 70% ऑफ योर मनी दैट यू सी वाज इन एक्चुअली डिपॉजिट्स, और ओवर अ पीरियड दैट पोर्शन हैज कम डाउन। आपका जो ये शेयर्स एंड एमएफ्स वाला पार्ट है जो कि 2% दिख रहा है 11-12 में, जो अब आपको यहाँ पे आके 7% दिख रहा है, विच इज 2 to 7%, बट लुक एट द बेस, इट इज 29 ट्रिलियन आपकी हाउस होल्ड सेविंग्स हैं ओवरऑल, एंड उस बेस पे हम बात कर रहे हैं, तो ये पेनिट्रेशन नंबर भी बहुत हेल्पफुल एंड काफी बड़ा मूव है। एंड ऑफ कोर्स आपका पीपीएफ अमाउंट है, वो है इंश्योरेंस का एक ब्रेकअप है उसमें, उसका भी शेयर है। बट द लार्जर चेंजेस ओवर द लास्ट 10 years ये हुआ है कि करेंसी एंड डिपॉजिट्स, उनका शेयर जो है दैट हैज कम डाउन फ्रॉम 70 to 45%, और आपका जो शेयर्स एंड म्यूचुअल फंड्स का जो शेयर है वो 2% से 7% पे चला गया है। जीसेक एंड स्मॉल सेविंग्स भी बढ़ गई हैं, मतलब बढ़ गई हैं, वो हमेशा से थी, बट वो भी अभी कुछ एज ऑन डेट एज वी स्पीक कुछ 7-8% है। बट आई थिंक शेयर्स एंड एमएफ्स, एंड येट इतना सब कुछ ट्रेंड्स जो हमने देखी हैं, ये सारी ट्रेंड्स जो स्ट्रक्चरल शिफ्ट्स आपने देखे हैं, जिनके नंबर्स काफी वॉपिंग हैं, उसके बावजूद भी आपका जो पेनिट्रेशन लेवल्स हैं, वेदर आप इक्विटी पेनिट्रेशन की बात करिए इन इंडिया, और यू टॉक अबाउट म्यूचुअल फंड पेनिट्रेशन, और यू टॉक अबाउट डीमैट अकाउंट पेनिट्रेशन, आप कोई भी पेनिट्रेशन नंबर इंडिया में ले लीजिए, इट इज मच लोअर देन द ग्लोबल एवरेज इन स्पाइट ऑफ सो मच ऑफ ग्रोथ इन द लास्ट 5 years। सो दैट्स द लार्जर पॉइंट वी आर मेकिंग, दैट अभी इसमें काफी स्कोप फॉर ग्रोथ है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर आप डीमैट अकाउंट पेनिट्रेशन देखेंगे तो 2021-22 में ये कुछ 5% था, अब मार्च 24 में अगर आप देखेंगे तो ये कुछ 8% है, वेर एज द ग्लोबल numbers are higher, USA is more than 30%, China is closer to 14-15%। अगर आप म्यूचुअल फंड एयूएम एज अ परसेंटेज ऑफ जीडीपी देखेंगे तो इंडिया इज एट अबाउट 16-17%, whereas countries, developed economies are much higher, much more than 100%, so France, Canada, USA, Australia, all these are much more than 100%। so of course जैसे हमारा जीडीपी ग्रोथ का ट्रेजेक्ट्री है, जीडीपी पर कैपिटा इनकम का ट्रेजेक्ट्री है, परसेंटेज ऑफ मैन्युफैक्चरिंग टू जीडीपी उनके तरह से डेवलपिंग इकोनॉमीज के वे में जाएगा, जैसे जैसे हमारा जीडीपी बढ़ेगा, आपका परसेंटेज ऑफ हेल्थ केयर एज अ परसेंटेज ऑफ जीडीपी वो भी डेवलपिंग इकोनॉमीज के जैसे जाएगा। आपका जो टॉप बैंक का जो मार्केट शेयर है, सॉरी टॉप बैंक का जो मार्केट कैपिटलाइजेशन है, दैट एज अ परसेंटेज ऑफ ओवरऑल जीडीपी, वहां पे भी बहुत ज्यादा गैप है ग्लोबली और इंडिया में। तो वो भी जैसे जैसे हमारी इकोनॉमी बढ़ेगी, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर स्पेंड और कैपिटल स्पेंड एज अ परसेंटेज ऑफ जीडीपी वो भी डेवलपिंग इकोनॉमीज की तरफ जाएगा। उसी तरह से हमारा जो ये पेनिट्रेशन लेवल है ऑफ डीमैट अकाउंट्स बोलिए, म्यूचुअल फंड अकाउंट्स, और ओवरऑल इक्विटी पेनिट्रेशन इज एक्चुअली 3 to 5%, whereas in equity penetration I'm talking about, this is demat penetration. Overall equity penetration is like 61% of the individuals in the US, for example, are invested into the US stock market. Similarly, India में some 3 to 5% of the individuals are invested. So scope of penetration is much higher because अभी हमारा base low है. Also, so that's the demand side, or that's the change which is happening on the investors side. What is happening on the companies side? If you see the trajectory of the number of IPOs, they have increased, and I'm sure some of you are experts there. I'm told that you belong to the broking fraternity and broking ecosystem, and I'm sure you can appreciate some of these things very well. ये आपको ज्यादा आप relate कर पाएंगे. In fact, maybe कुछ लोग यहाँ पे मुझसे ज्यादा बेहतर समझते होंगे इस चीज को. सो ये सप्लाई ऑफ आईपीओस भी काफी बढ़ गया है ओवर अ पीरियड. तो इन ऑल हम ये कह रहे हैं कि क्या है केस ऑफ कैपिटल मार्केट्स. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल राइजिंग इनकम है और एफिनिटी टुवर्ड्स इक्विटीज इंडिया में लोगों की है. यस, यू हैव सम इवेंट्स कमिंग इन. You will have events, you will have local events in the form of budgets and domestic elections, India elections. You will have some geopolitical events happening. You will have US Fed announcing jobs data, unemployment data, FOMC discussions, और आपके Fed rate hike, वो सारा भी एक event ही है. और वो discussions भी आएंगे, geopolitical discussions and geopolitical events भी होंगे. But finally, India market has an affinity, has the strength. हमारे यहाँ पे growth, underlying growth is there. Macros are in favor. Right now, as we speak to our fund managers, we are told that leverage in the system, which is leverage on the company's balance sheets, is not there. Or IPOs में people are going to the market to raise money. 2007-8 में भी we had the same things. Liquidity भले इतनी नहीं होगी या liquidity होगी, but leverage was very very high and you hardly had people going to the markets to raise monies. IPOs नहीं आ रहे थे तब इतने. तो overall India markets are quite healthy. Some bit of reaction will be there, reacting to the global events जो होगा. But overall हमारा rising income affinity towards equities is intact, because we have macros and we have growth underlying and we have less leverage in the system. और अंडर पेनिट्रेटेड मार्केट्स तो हैं ही, हमने पेनिट्रेशन नंबर्स अभी देखे थे. प्लस यू हैव सप्लाई ऑफ कंपनीज, दे आर नाउ कमिंग टू द मार्केट्स टू रेज मनीज, बिकॉज बैंक्स की बैलेंस शीट्स भी डिलीवर्ड है, कंपनीज की बैलेंस शीट्स भी लेवरेज नहीं है, तो ऑब्वियसली they are coming to the market, and they're raising money. So that is something there. And one important thing which I would want to highlight again, and you would again be able to appreciate, कि जो capital markets के segments हैं, ये जो हमने बात करे, stock exchanges, आपका depositories, then you have stock broking entities, asset management companies, wealth businesses जो listed हैं, like the likes of Anand Rathi and Prudent and others, वो सारे asset light businesses होते हैं. They are very very asset light and they don't have too much of leverage. उनकी कॉस्ट्स भी लार्जली फिक्स्ड होती है, एम्प्लॉय एंड सम सिस्टम्स कॉस्ट. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि जब टॉप लाइन बढ़ रही है अभी तो उनके कॉस्ट भी उसी प्रोपोर्शन में बढ़ेंगे. इट्स अनलाइकली, इट डजंट हैपन लाइक दैट. द स्क्रीन इज चेंजिंग, राइट? जस्ट टू चेक, केस फॉर कैपिटल मार्केट्स इज द स्लाइड गोइंग ऑन राइट नाउ. आपको भी वही दिख रही है स्लाइड?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thanks. Well, one of the presentations I spoke for about half an hour and then the team told me, so I thought I'll check. Okay. So आपकी टॉप लाइन इस सेगमेंट की टॉप लाइन इज ग्रोइंग एज वी स्पोक. Fixed cost primarily does not grow to in the same proportion because the costs are primarily fixed, employee and IT. Capital light businesses हैं, asset light businesses हैं, and leverage in this is low. In fact, we did one small exercise. I don't have the numbers right now, but we did a small exercise very recently with the help of our business analytics team. एंड वी टुक ऑल द निफ्टी इंडाइसेस, सारे हमने सेक्टर एंड थीमेटिक इंडाइसेस लिए और सबके हमने आरओई और डेट टू एक्विटी, ROE, debt to equity, PE, PB, and one or two more ratios we calculated, and we found that capital market index ka ratio, debt to equity ratio, the leverage part is the lowest, which was out in the numbers also. And these are potentially high quality businesses. अगर आप इन सारे segments का last 5 years का ROE देखेंगे तो it's quite healthy from that perspective. वो भी हमने portfolio level पे we had calculated as on date, and for financial years last 3 years, sorry, not 5 years, 3 years calculate किया था. Last 3 years का ROE is very healthy. So finally, what does this capital market include? As I mentioned, stock exchanges, stock broking, wealth managers, asset management companies, and then you have depositories and RTAs mainly. So on the back office side. We'll just have 2 slides on each of these, and I'll just try to summarize on what do we think about the stockbroking or any other component. So stockbroking companies may, of course, you have some companies which have gone on a flat fee structure. Many companies have increased their digital focus by leaps and bounds. And because of that increase in the digital focus, those companies are able to have a larger share from their repeat business from their existing clients. Plus, of course, course, they are going and garnering market share also because of their change in the business model. And even if not all of them have moved to a flat fee structure, of course, but some of them who have moved, they have taken away a good amount of share. Then they are also diversifying their partnerships. They are having different formats, so partnerships with mutual fund distributors, partnerships with fintechs, partnerships with banks, partnerships with various other kinds of distributors. So they are diversifying through various kinds of partnership. Also, we realize that they are also not being just they are also diversifying into different products. Some of them are also going and empaneling consumer loan distribution, insurance distribution, because they already have the setup and everything. So that ways we are seeing these are the growth drivers, and these are the cogs in the wheel for diversification for stockbroking entities. And during the COVID period or post the COVID period, there has been a steep rise in, people started to open accounts and trade, because during the work from home, people got more time to explore. Also, a lot of entities and stockbrokers went online. They also introduced newer models like zero cost brokerage or totally digital. They had that room to focus more on digital acquisition of customers. And then of course you have this rise in smartphones and internet connectivity. That is of course not COVID connected, but overall India is becoming a hub for good phone manufacturing, of course exports, plus in India also it is the penetration or the market for smartphones is increasing. So you have your trading at the convenience, so that's there. And so the top line increase, again the same thing, balance sheet is capital light, and with the top line growing on account of all these things, you have a case for stockbroking entities. If you see, there is an increase in the active clients of the top 20 brokers. Rather than taking the entire industry, we thought it's better to just take the top 20 brokers and see. So their active clients have actually increased 6 times since 2021. So even in the increase in the number of broking accounts has seen a great amount of increase. Then you have depository, which is CDSL, for example. Then there they have annual fees, which is about 40-50%. They have transaction fees. So there are corporates paying these depositories, and then you have depository participants paying to the depository when there is movement of securities or annual fees, or when companies or corporates get listed, they also pay fees to these depositories like CDSL and the likes. So there has been increase in the number of listings, and there has been increase in the number of Demat accounts and trading accounts and number of trades. So obviously the transaction traffic and the volume has increased by multifold, and that is leading to increase in the top line and the revenue of depository entities. So they earn, as I said, through account opening, transactional and annual fees. And they also give some value added services like electronic statements and e-voting. And again, their costs are also just employee and computer management, primarily fixed in nature. So you have operating leverage coming into the picture, and your margins increasing, with top line also increasing. Look at this, you have 16 crore unique Demat accounts now in India again. And if you also look at the average trade size and the Demat securities, there also you will see a good bump up in the Demat securities traded. If you look at the overall data, past 5 to 7 years data, you have stock exchanges, you have BSE, MCX. So here the drivers are multifold in terms of the revenue stream for stock exchanges is varied, and derivatives actually is now a large part of the growth, the revenue growth which is coming in from derivatives segment is the fastest growing. But of course you have these stock exchanges revenue coming in from cash equities, from mutual funds, from corporate services and treasury income, and of course derivatives is a very growing segment. So stock exchanges continue to um, on fees and charges because of this volume growth and AUM growth, and the number of listings also, because number of issuers per number of folios per issuer. So if there are newer issuers coming in and you have more folios getting created, obviously stock exchanges are earning because their incomes are also indexed to that. And when we speak of derivatives, what these short dated derivative products have done is it has helped to capture the very small movements in the market also, and it has reduced the cost for people, because if you're giving them near term index options, short dated options, then their cost is reduced and they are able to trade and capture the smaller movement also. And you have growth in lower ticket sizes, and short dated weekly expiry products. So because of the number of increase in the number of derivative products by introducing short dated weekly expiry products and lower ticket size products, more people and more contracts are being traded and more people are coming in and they are able to capture smaller movements in the market. So overall the volume is increasing. And Indian equity options have grown at 70% over 21 to 24. And of course, we all know that India is the largest market by number of derivative contracts globally. So that's good data to see. If you see the long bar here, whereas compared to very developed nations like USA, Japan, Korea, and Germany. At least I can say these four names. The others added are Brazil and Istanbul. But look at the comparison with USA, Japan, and Germany itself, and Korea also. So these are smaller. Korea and Japan, relatively smaller nations, but yeah, very developed. USA, of course, it's a powerhouse, but large nation. But there also the derivatives is not. In fact, I was speaking to NSE just before this call, and they were at this conference in Texas, where every year they go, and they said this time at our booths, people were inquiring and thronging about Indian products. कैसे ट्रेड करते हैं, कहाँ ट्रेड करते हैं, क्या लेते हैं, कौन से प्रोडक्ट से एक्सपोजर ले सकते हैं इंडिया से. This time people wanted to, they were waiting when will the India booth, and they were waiting to talk to Indian people. So NSE Indices chief and his team was there. For 15 days, they had this 2 week conference and meeting client this thing, and they were sharing that the response was amazing, more so this year. Then we come to asset management companies, and asset management companies we all know. So the AUM growth, of course, is there. Folio growth is very much is there, and SIP. SIP is one way where you have it comes somewhere makes the market resilient, because the flows of SIP has net inflows have increased, and they with SIP and MF and DII flows, they gave a good tough fight and a tough resilience when FIIs actually are in the mode of flying away with their money or redemption, which we've seen in the last 1 or 2 days. Almost equal amount of money comes in from the domestic, and within the domestic pie, mutual fund flows and SIP flows are a great, resilience to the market now. So SIP assets now account for over 20% of the industry assets, and number of SIP accounts are now at 8.4 crores. And India's SIP ecosystem has become all the more robust. So it's basically now almost touched 2 crores. The net flows, it has touched 2 crores in the fiscal, so 2024. Then you have RTAs, you have CAMs in the listed space, you have KFIN, and RTAs revenues are also indexed to the growth in mutual fund AUM. Of course, they have various margins for equity AUM and debt AUM and hybrid AUM. And as the AUM grows, the margins don't remain the same. That at 5 lakh crore AUM also, at 2 lakh crore also, you have the same margin for equity AUM, and you at 4 lakh crores also you have the same. It doesn't happen like that. But obviously, it comes down from say, let's say 7 bips to 5 bips to 4 bips. But with a 10% increase in the AUM, you have the revenue of RT also going up by 5-6%, 6%. So you have a telescopic pricing model here, which means that as the AUM grows, your revenue does not grow in tandem, because as I said, at 50,000 crores, at 1 lakh crores, at 3 lakh crore, at 5 lakh crore, you will have varied margin numbers to share with the equity, linked to the equity and the debt AUM. But of course, finally, the AUM is growing and the revenue, absolute revenue, is also growing, maybe at a little lower pace because of this telescopic pricing model. But the revenues of people are growing. CAMS and KFIN are growing. KFIN is more associated with smaller sized mutual funds, and that's why it has a higher margin earning coming in from fewer newer players. And CAMS has a volume game because it manages most of the bigger, larger AMCs. So it earns more from volume rather than the margin, because as the AUMs have grown, the equity, BIPs, what they share, indexed to the equity AUM, has now obviously come down with the rise in AUM from 7 to 5 BIPs, 4 BIPs it would have come. And RTAs also offer some value added services. तो वहाँ से भी they earn some income, but 80% of their incomes are linked to mutual fund growth, mutual fund AUM growth. And then you have wealth management and distribution setups. These are some of these listed players have seen a good growth in the high ticket financial assets like AIF, PMS, and mutual funds being done by HNIs, and their overall pool, savings pool, has of course grown. And because AIF and PMS and some of these products are a higher margin products, and the HNI AUM mix is also changed and become quite balanced, and introducing a good amount of PMS and AIF also, which are higher revenue products. The growth drivers and the revenue increase for these wealth management units have been very, very decent. And also here also there is a under penetration story, because not professional advice in financial wealth in the overall assets, that space is still quite under penetrated. So there also we see a lot of scope as the overall financialization happens from physical assets to financial assets, and overall penetration of Demat accounts and broking accounts and MFs and equities happens in India. We will also see a further penetration of the advised assets, and thus we expect the revenues of these wealth management units also to go up. Now I'll spend 5 to 7 minutes on this index. How is it constructed and what is it? So of course, I gave you some background at the start, that this capital markets. So you, in the financial services space, you have banks, you have NBFCs and HFCs, housing finance companies. Then you have insurance, general and life, and then you have the capital markets, which is all of the sub segments that we spoke about. So within the financial services index, banks, NBFCs are the large part, of course, but the story we feel, or the case for this segment of financial services is also very much intact. Banks, the discussion for banks right now, the story for banks is coming up more so right now is because of the valuation piece currently. However, from the growth perspective, expected growth in, because आपका costs उसी rate में नहीं बढ़ रहे हैं and आपकी top line grow हो रही है and balance sheets are very healthy. So the exit load here is 0.25% within 15 days. Our NFO is starting on 7th October 20, and the construction is methodology is like this. The universe is about Nifty 500. All the stocks belonging to the list of basic industries is mentioned. So it'll be picked, and then top 20 eligible stocks, which are based on 6 months average free float market capitalization. तो पहले निफ्टी 500 में कैपिटल इन मार्केट्स सेगमेंट्स के जितने भी स्टॉक्स होंगे वो सारे लेके लिस्ट कर दिए जाएंगे, फिर उनकी लास्ट 6 मंथ्स की एवरेज फ्री फ्लोट मार्केट कैपिटलाइजेशन को कैलकुलेट करके उसके साथ में लगाया जाएगा, एंड फिर डिसेंडिंग ऑर्डर में टॉप 20 स्टॉक्स चूज करे जाएंगे. अभी स्टॉक्स फिलहाल कम हैं, 15 स्टॉक्स हैं, एंड मे बी मोर लिस्टिंग्स हैपन एंड दे विल कीप गेटिंग एडेड. अगर निफ्टी 500 में आएंगे तो यहाँ भी आ जाएंगे, इसमें भी डेफिनेटली दे विल कम. and there is a stock cap of 20%. Right now, we don't have any stock as close to this. I think 17% is HDFC AMC, and so semi-annually there'll be an index reconstitution कि कौन सा stock अंदर कोई same rules लगा के क्या stocks include होने चाहिए, क्या exclude होने चाहिए, and हर quarter में एक rebalancing होगी ये stock cap को लेके कि जो 20% से अगर कोई stock ऊपर चला गया है तो उसको वापस reset किया जाएगा at the quarter end. जैसे अभी सितंबर में हमने 30 सितंबर को मान लीजिए हमने रीसेट कर दिया 20% पे. अब नाउ सितंबर टू दिसंबर के बीच में इफ द स्टॉक इज अराउंड द बॉर्डर देन इट कैन गो टू 21-22%. फिर से अगेन दिसंबर एंड में इट विल बी रीसेट. सो एवरी क्वार्टर रीबैलेंसिंग वुड हैपन. And this is the latest portfolio. We have a September, mid-September portfolio also, but names are the same. Some weights would have changed depending on the moment in the stock prices. So exchange and data platform में आपके पास हमारा इस portfolio में है BSE and MCX and IEX. AMCs, we have 4 AMCs listed: HDFC, Nippon, Aditya Birla, and UTI. HDFC is the largest. Exchange also, you have BSE, which is the largest at 15%. Then you have depositories, CDSL is the largest there, the only one. CAMS and KFIN are RTAs, so but CAMS is larger at 8%. And then you have stockbroking entities. Basis on the consolidated revenue, 361 WAM is also classified under stockbroking and not financial products distributor. And you have Angel One, Motilal Oswal, Novama, which is the stockbroking. And you have one financial distributor, which is Anand Rathi. People have been asking me, Prudent Nifty 500 में ही नहीं है, and that is why it is not here. Geojit Financial also is not there in Nifty 500. So जितने Nifty 500 में है, because जब Nifty 500 बनता है and when stocks enter there, that they undergo a lot of filters: liquidity, impact cost, आपका frequency of trading, and a couple of things more. And then Nifty 500 is a robust universe. उसमें से then every thematic index usually has the universes Nifty 500. From there it is chosen. So I think I will stop here. I spent around 35 minutes, on the PPT, but if there are any questions, I will be glad to answer them.